Good afternoon, Tony Dattino, doing my Live with Tony. I am the founder and chairman of the USA Memory Championship. We have our 24th event coming up here in Full Sail University on September the 23rd. You will be able to see the version of that, or the edited version of that, on September 24th. So stay tuned with the USA Memory Championship site. You'll be able to watch and observe our 24th event. Well, what I wanted to share today was some of the highlights, and some of this stuff still does drive me a little crazy, but let me just tell you what I'm talking about. It comes out of the current issue of Mind, Mood, and Memory, current being September. So it's the September 23rd issue, and it talks about appreciate the thinking skills that can remain the same or even improve as you get older. And they then talk about the different types of memory and those that will fail and those that will stay together. And all I ever do with these is every time I read one of these reports, I want to see the study that's done where people have been taught mnemonics, memory systems, memory skills before they make these statements about whether our memory can improve, cannot improve, whether it can get better, or whether or not it's automatically destined to fail. And I don't know that the studies that they're doing ever stop to take into consideration that memory is a verb, not a noun. And what I mean by that is it's a verb, and that there are activities that we can learn and do. There are daily lifestyle changes that we can make and perform that can help make our cognitive fitness better as we get older. And we get hung up on this, well, we're going to remain the same or we can improve, versus deteriorating. And all I will submit as evidence is myself. And I consider myself someone who practices the things that we teach, the mental challenges, working on my exercise routines, looking at my nutritional habits, studying what my stress levels are and how to build resilience into my lifestyle. And so all I can submit as evidence is my own personal brain that I had to do MRIs on earlier this year in the February 2023 time period because of actually some eye issues that I was having with my eyes and missing letters and words, and they thought that I might have had a blockage somewhere in my brain. So I got to go do an hour and a half sitting in an MRI or laying in an MRI doing contrast without. And here's what they told me when I was all done. There is nothing wrong with your brain, and in fact, that was good news. And by the way, we don't see anything that's impacting your eyesight. Okay, that was a question for the ophthalmologist. But most importantly, they said to me, your brain looks like you're 10 years younger. It looks like 10 years younger than your life age. And I say, okay, submitted evidence. I'm not a scientific study. I didn't do white papers. I didn't do, control groups. But what I know from doing a brain scan of my own self at my age, which is in the 70s, hey, I think I look pretty good. In my 70s, I find that the science world is still missing half the boat. The good news here is they at least address that thinking skills can remain the same, so we aren't all doomed to cognitive impairment or fitness if we understand lifestyle changes, and some may even improve as we get older. So let's break this down. They talked about semantic memory, vocabulary, and cognitive skills that are less vulnerable to decline as we get older. Well, that's good news. At least we have found some parts of our memories, some parts of our thinking skills may not actually deteriorate. Well, that's a good start. So I'm impressed with their opening start. Between memory lapses and noticeable struggles with focus and decision making, you might think that our brain, that age brings on negative changes to thinking. But the good news is they say that's not always the case. So when you talk about focus and decision making, how many people, when they're parking their car, when they're going to the store, either something is distracting them, there's something that's troubling them and stressing them, and they're just not focused. So the first thing I always tell people is you need to remember. Translation, you need to focus on what it is you're trying to remember, especially if where you're parking your car. and the lot is full, and you're just getting out of the car, talking on your cell phone, talking to the person next to you, and the both of you just kind of walk into the store or walking into the park, wherever you are, and you don't stop to focus on where you have anchored or parked your car. So at least they address the fact that we have struggles with focus. Yep, because we have so many things going on in our world today. Bam, and somebody says something to you, it triggers a thought, your brain goes off to that thought, and you come back and can't remember what they were talking to you about because your memory did not fail you. Your memory never remembered what you wanted it to remember in the conversation. Therefore, it was a matter of focus. Now, decision making. You might think that age brings on negative changes to these thinking skills, but that's not the case. In fact, you may have noticed that while you might need an extra moment to find the word or the response that you're looking for, your thinking skills may not have changed. And I love that because there was a study done a number of years ago where they were looking at a study of kids and adults and giving them test questions and seeing who answered fastest. And they discovered the kids answered faster. Well, does that say that the adults are fading or that they're not as smart? But what they then did was they checked for accuracy, and they found that the adults had a higher level of accuracy versus the kids. And excuse me. And the other thing they discovered was that the adults took a little bit longer. Now, why would you think of it taking a little bit longer? Well, the storage that you've got, this seems so sensible to me. I can't believe they do these studies. The storage of an adult has got a lot more of life experiences. And when an adult is asked the question, a senior, I'll specifically say, they're sorting through a whole big wide data storage capacity. And from that data storage, they're looking for the most accurate and most intelligent, most comprehensive answer that they can give to the questions that are being given to them. So is that a cause to be alarmed and say mild cognitive impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's, it's on its way? No, it's a cause of saying, I got to focus. I got to realize when I'm asked questions, I may want to ponder the question because I really want to give the best answer possible. And so we've got to be sensitive, and it drives me crazy. We got to be sensitive to first, are people in the mode of wanting to remember something that they're being confronted with or listening to? Maybe it's just they're busy doing something else and their brains are absorbed in another activity. Which brings me to a different topic, not for today, though, that is called multitasking. And studies were done on multitasking. It basically says the more we multitask, the more we can mess up multiple things as opposed to just one. As you get older, it's normal to experience some difficulties, like slowness or occasional forgetfulness. Now, how does the slowness just respond to what I just said? When you're confronted with something that's really important to you, do you not want to go search? I know some of my engineering friends. You confront them with an engineering problem. They're senior citizens. They don't always come up with an answer like that. They're very creative. They're very deliberate and intentional. You might say they're slow because they're a senior, but in fact they're better because they can stop and look at life experience, come up with the best solution for the problem you've got, whether it's in your car or an oil, your hot water heater or bathroom fixtures, whatever it is. These engineers are doing is they're going back and absorbing years of experience and looking at a current situation, and they're coming up with the best possible alternative or solution for the least cost but the most efficiency. And so we don't stand there and look, oh, hey, you're an engineer, you're losing your mind. No, you're using your mind. You're not losing it, you're using it. Certain parts of neurons do wear down, including receptors and myelin sheaths. Well, that's been an interesting series of studies in that, in terms of wearing them down. Well, how can you prevent the wearing them down? But as a result, it slows down the speed of communication or may not even function as it once did. Some brain sizes actually shrink, losing brain cells and connections. Well, one of the things they've talked about is if we're using our brain and we're consistently learning new things, that helps preserve the pruning of things that we're not using. It's like the branches of a tree. When we come here during the different tree trimming seasons, we prune trees, and what happens with the pruning? The rest of the tree grows even bigger. So you may look in the short term, well, they just cut down a bunch of branches, but then when you look at it longer term, the pruning has helped the tree grow into a bigger and more robust tree to have. Oh, goodness. The reduction of the hippocampus is an important part of learning and memory. Can result in difficulties encoding new information into memory or retrieving previously learned material. And that's when I go nuts. As I say, encoding information into the hippocampus. Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to memorize, link, connect, and associate? Do you understand the fundamentals of how your memory even works? And how we move from the noun of memory to the verb of memory, meaning activities that we can study, practice, and learn, and then apply. And so here they come apart here and say, a reduction of the hippocampus is the essential part of, yep, agree with that, but it can result in difficulties encoding new information into memory or retrieving them. Well, did you ever learn how to encode properly so it stays for the long term? Did you ever take a book or read a YouTube or study a YouTube or read a study done on memory and how to encode? Even people even know what that means, how to put it in, how to remember, so that you have hooks that facilitate its ability to pull it out. And that's when I start to go bonkers with a well-respected magazine that comes out of the Massachusetts General Hospital. I love the magazine. It's usually got always has a lot of interesting and meaningful articles, but every once in a while I look at these, and the only question I would ask to the magazine is, where have you done a study where you've put people through some form of memory training and then tested their ability to encode at whatever their age is? So if we haven't been given the skills and we don't practice and utilize those skills, what are the chances we're going to remember? Anyway, it's time for another weekend. The weekends are coming up fast. 2023 is dissipating pretty rapidly. We're in through the month of August, and we're more past the halfway mark. And it's time for another weekend of hopefully sun and games and play and ball games or park picnics and things. Hopefully the weather in your neighborhood is okay. Here in Florida, we're finally getting a little bit of break from the 98, 99 degree days. We're down into the lower 90s, and the pool water is just perfect right now, so I enjoy my swimming. My running is done early in the morning, or I do it after the sun goes down at night, because the humidity and the sun just bake you and makes it a little bit tougher. But to that, have a nice weekend, and we shall see you back here on Monday. I do plan to finish up on this article come Monday, so I will leave it right here on my laptop so I don't forget to put focus and pull you through the rest of this article.